Before Corona, AC means after Corona. This is a typical die which is operated by hydraulics one, and this is the one we need to service. This is a typical aluminum casting. This is produced out of aluminum alloy LM25. This is a typical picture of the LPDC setup. There comes your die. This is the crucible, and the die is sitting on the furnace. This shows. This is a closer view of the LPDC die. This is the top die half. This is the bottom die half. Very complicated. Why there is a need for the maintenance, DDC and PDC? Dies are affected by thermal stresses due to heat of the molten metal. Thermal shock is occurring in every pouring because the temperature difference between the metal and the die is about say 470 degrees. The difference. Metal says 720 degrees and die is at 250. The difference in temperature is 470 degrees. You are always pouring a very hot water on your head and get shiver and all. Like that, for every shot, the die is undergoing a thermal shock. It affects it. Molten aluminum has got a natural affinity for iron, and it attacks it chemically also. The dies are affected by mechanical movements also. Due to the ejector pins are getting broken, bent, gate holes, worn out, etc. There are so the die is affected by so many factors. Metallostatic pressure opens the die halves and develops stresses. However much you close the die opens at the top of it. Damage due to mishandling of dies during production also happens. Sometimes operator used for closing. Overheating of the die causes oxidation layers and die warping. Sometimes when the dies are heated to start the pouring, people put the burner and go off. The dies will get red hot. Effects, etc., affect the die also. Die coat chemicals build oxy layers on the die cavity, causing a rough finish on the casting. Die design mistakes also cause a lot of operating problems. Sharp edges left out of during the die manufacture create hard spots and crack developments. All the above create the necessity for die maintenance. In a nutshell, dies are self-destructing equipments by the very nature of the process itself. Of course, it is true for all the foundry equipments like furnaces, building equipments, even ladders, they perish. Sometimes they get worn and leak also. So there is a saying, foundry's profits or loss is decided in the tool room indirectly rather than in any other area. Directly, die maintenance personnel run the foundry show. At this point, tool maintenance personnel come into the picture in all the stages of production, not only in making casting, but also in fettling, trimming, everywhere. They design the systems and procedures for maintaining the health of the dies till the designed service life is obtained. They are the right and the fittest persons to scrap the die also. They gather and accumulate knowledge over a long period, which then becomes a know-how for that foundry. They give feedback for improving the die design and die manufacture. I shall present few case studies on this. First, the statistical support and guide for die maintenance is the die history card, which is a very vital record. As soon as the die is returned to the first activity is to enter the total number of shots taken in the die run in the die history card. The last shot taken must come along with the die. The shop supervisor should send his observations on the die and the problems he encountered and the service requirements. Tool service personnel then start their planning. The maintenance activities in a way can be classified regular maintenance, that is the routine work which is common to almost all the dyes. The next one is the condition-based maintenance, how the dye looks like, how it is affected, that way. Preventive maintenance to prevent the long-term failures during the dye running. First, the regular maintenance. It is like taking bath regularly every day as a routine activity. A checklist is designed by tool serviceman that will be followed during service. Most of the activities are common to all the days except a few differences. Although GDC is positive gravity process and the LPDC is negative gravity process because metal flows against the gravity. But the maintenance is almost similar, except only a few points difference. As soon as the plant production is completed, say 5,000 numbers or 3,000 numbers or 6,000 numbers, the dye is moved to 2,000. At that time, a dye service report is to be prepared by the supervisor and sent along with the dye, the last full shot of the casting. Many people forget to write the date on casting. I would insist when they send the casting, they must take a marker and then sincerely write the name and also the date of the casting. The following information is to be filled by the shop supervisor, number of shots taken, casting. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Muthaya, but your screen sharing is not on.
Hello?
It's not?
Yeah, okay. Okay, it's coming back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, what you should do is you should try and increase the size of this presentation. Go to this, yeah, click on that. Yes,
okay.
That's right. That's right. That's very good. Go ahead, sir.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. The following information is to be filled by the supervisor: the die name, part number, casting name, and total number of shots taken, and the casting defects encountered, if any, which is due to die. Say, for example, many castings will develop drag mark, depressions, core shift, etc. Excess flashes areas are to be marked on the castings. And also the various observations and the whether the die closing is correct, the die opening is correct, bottom board dropping is correct. So many movements are there in a die depending upon the construction. This is very important. Or any oil leak in the hydraulic cylinders, air leak in the hydraulic cylinders, metal leak at the parting line. This is one of the very vital information that is required because the metal leak affects and can cause a lot of accidents. Excess flashes in the die parting line, which can cause more time in fettling. Also, some dimensional defects can happen. A tentative time and date of return to the die to the foundation of again is important. This is a very important point. In India, this is a starting point for many arguments in the shop floor. When a very short time is given for day service, in many times, tool room is unable to attend all the corrections and also any other problems the supervisor notes. This is this at first, as soon as the die enters the tool room, the die has got to be cleaned first, then dismantled. So cleaning means all the flashes sticking on the die here and there, all that to be done. Then dismantle the die and course, remove the die coat by applying a mild sandblasting and put the entire die the open condition. If it is a big die, keep it on the floor. If it is a small die, put it on a die table. And very closely inspect the die cavity area and look for some scoring marks, depressions, aluminum welded areas. This is very, very important. Check all the slides and look for metal entry in the slide gauge. And also, you should check the marking screw. It's very important for traceability. If you are going to service the die in December, anticipate and try to say replace that chip for the next year and punch also the month code for the current running dies. Check the number of shots so far taken. If it is 10,000 numbers, don't hesitate. Don't ask anybody. Well, all the die parting lines and clean it. It will improve the fettling. The flashes will be much less. You don't have to file too much and then enter into problems of rough finish all that. Replace all the small core pins irrespective of the condition. When it is less than 10 mm. Because mild cracks will develop at the big during production. So never see the core is good. I don't want to, I have no spares. I am going to continue. Never do that. If it is 5,000 numbers, you should replace all the core pins. This is much essential in PDC also. Check all the venting channels, plug bands, clean. Check and clean and replace the sintered vent plugs. Here I want to mention these sintered vents are manufactured only in Japan. It is not done in India as far as I know. Very, very, very nice ones, very costly one also. For those dies which are using sand cores, the sintered vent plugs are very useful also. Apply blue on the die parting lines and check the blue marking. If needed, match them again. People will ask, why do you want to match a Davichi die? But it is essential. I am going to present an excellent, the real life. Some problem occurred in one foundry. I am going to present that case study. It is going to be an eye-opener. Check the fin plates if any. Supposing if you are making dies, for example, some cylinder heads with a lot of fins. Correct the drag marks, depressions if any by welding and machining. Check all the ejector pin levels. There is also an interesting case study on this. A scrap deal about 5,000 numbers in die once because it has gone in by another 0.4, 0.6. Lot of unwashed happened. The customer almost shed tears. How can you afford to scrap 5,000 numbers? Check the condition of the ejector gate bushes and if needed plan for replacements. That will come in the part of the preventive maintenance activity. Probably once in about 50,000 shots, you will have to replace the entire ejector system. In my experience, I was a tool service man also. Check the condition of the threads and the eye hooks for the die lifting. Sometimes when you lift it for oil leak and change the seals if necessary. But once in about 15,000 castings, I used to change the hydraulic seals without any questions instead of getting it leaking during production. Check all the air cylinders. Normally, the directional valves only give a lot of problems. Be highly noisy also. So check and then replace it, or you can change the O-rings also. Up to about 25,000 to 30,000 shots, it is sufficient to do the regular maintenance alone. After 30,000 shots only, you get into problems. In the low pressure die casting dies, check the die base warping always on the furnace. It is on the hot bed. So it is likely to warp. Even a very mild warp will leave a gap between the furnace and the die. The metal will not get injected all the pressure. After all, you are applying pressure of maximum 0.4 or 0.3 kg per cm square on the furnace. If there is a loss of pressure, metal won't rise. So you must be very careful in that one. It is likely to warp. But every 30,000 cast, you must take the one and see. You can give a very fine grading also, say 0.1, 0.2, and see that there's no gap. For low pressure casting dies, it is better to clean the dies by glass bead sandblasting. Although it is costly, it will not remove material from the die, because if you do this sandblasting, it will have some problem. So in Japan and all, I have seen every low pressure dies are only say glass bead sandblasted, very very clean also. For the normal gravity die, it is sufficient. You can do sandblasting. Once a way, you can do a mild sandblasting also, or sharp peening also. Because sometimes it will take a waxy layers. But it is always better to, so on 1 to 2 weeks, you must, otherwise there will be a lot of die coat builds up and the riser becomes smaller. Then there is a lot of problem. The shrinkage comes from the riser to the casting. People will say, why do you clean the risers? It's not like that. It is better to keep it. Otherwise, the certification time also goes up. The cycle time goes up. A lot of problems. And in the low pressure die casting dies, the stipper plate system is very important. If some casting is getting stuck up in that one, everything gets collapsed. All the cycle time is interrupted and the die will lose heat. It will lead to some lot of cascading problems. In the low pressure dies, vent depth is very small, hardly very, very small, 0.3 to 0.4 only. So if there is a minor block also, you will have a lot of problems. Fins won't form. You will have a lot of misruns and the casting will not be in full form shapes. The resin gas, supposing they are using a lot of gas cores, the resin gas and sand cores will deposit burnt resin gases and the resin on the vent channels. If this is going to be blocked, hardly about 0.3, 0.4, if 0.1, 0.2 is lot of cold cells and all that will be there. So when cleaning in the low pressure die casting dies are very important. Whereas GDC is not that critical. 0.6, 0.8 mm is there, you can still get away with the 0.5. Nothing happens. Sometimes you produce a lot of casting the fins in the low pressure, and the gap is very, very important. You can't afford to have many gaps there. If there is a very fine flash entered between the gap of the two fins, it will block the venting. A lot of problems is there. Replacement may have to be planned after checking the condition. This is becoming under CBM maintenance, condition-based maintenance. It is always to have a setup in place after 50,000 castings. You can always make a new one and put it there. The tool maintenance team should take the decision for replacements. Now let us move on to shell core and die cavity. Sometimes you will be locating a lot of shell cores on the die cavity, and the important thing is the shell core can grow. If the shell core die halves are not closing well, all the core pin diameters will stay expand by 0.2, 0.3. What will happen is it will not sit well on the top core, and the top die half comes and sits on it, the core can break also. So you must see that the core pin areas is kept very clean and the dimensions are there. And the core breakage cannot be seen during production. It will be known only as a surprise after decoring it. Simultaneously check the core box condition also for that die. This is very, very important. And sand being an abrasive material, it can wear off very quickly. So recondition may be required after about 25 to 30,000 gas. Especially, there will be fine flashes will come at the parting line. People used to file that flashes at the parting line. They will become as a rough finish in the casting, and the customer will not accept any rough finish on the inlook areas of the cover compressor castings. This happened. So you should not file the circumference of any core. In fact, you should not do any rework on the sand core. Otherwise, you will be leaving a lot of problem. That comes from the core box. It cannot compromise on it. Another problem is core sticking on the die. This is due to the polishing of the die surface. Literally, the finish must be like a mirror. Of course, it cannot be possible. You can go up to 2F, between 2F and 2 micron to 3 micron finish. If it is there, the core will not stick, it will come. If the core doesn't come, you know what happens? The operator will tend to spray the dye release agent for every casting. It gives a lot of gas problems. The ideal situation is 7 to 8 cores. You can spray once. Not every core you should going on spraying this one. It will give a lot of problems. Must be careful. When you replace the heaters, people, they don't have a stock. So what will happen is they put some heaters with high power or low power, then it will give problem of unbaking or over baking, of course. It will give a lot of problems. So it must be some two people, they don't have a stock of the correct length. So they will put some excess length of the sun, then it will lead to a lot of, I have seen accidents happen. Then another important point is the core box closing. No sand should leak. 1 gram of sand will cost about 20 paise. So if I'm going to lose some kgs of sand, imagine the loss in a year. Also, it can cause the housekeeping worse. The supervisor will come and fire on you. So you must see that no sand is leaking first of all. It can also, I have seen serious eye injuries happen. So the first and foremost thing is when you go to a core shop, people will tell, don't stand in the parting line because they are not sure whether it will leak or not. That is not the right way. So you must see that the days are closing very well and check and weld the parting line if necessary to avoid all these things. Once in about 40,000 if it is casting, the shell core location has got to be checked once and again. For example, in the cover compressor castings and all, it's a very complicated inward profile. Generally, not much variation of 4 to 6 mm will be the wall thickness. And if there's a shift, they will cut at several sections of the cover compressor. If there is going to be a shift of more than 0.2 difference, they won't accept. I have seen thousands of gases rejected because of the sand core location is not there. So what we do is we used to scan the die-hop and core until it match. It's very important. That's why many companies could not be able to make a compressor because of the problems in the maintenance of the core box. Very important. Now let us move on to some interesting topics from the regulars. The amount Japanese work practices, regular maintenance in tool room that is being done, online maintenance support in the foundation shop, which is a peculiar thing to India. I will tell you how they are doing it, and fitness of the toolmaker himself and training of the we don't check in toolmaker. Now, the information given here is only on my personal observations when I was trained in Japan and Korea for a very long time. But I am not trying to generalize this. This is applicable to all. There are 2 dies for the same casting. They somehow convince the customer get money, reduce cost and make 2 dies for the same casting. One will be in production, the other will be in service, or it will be kept ready after servicing. Therefore, if there are 2 dies are there, they get sufficient time for a thorough servicing. Unlike in India, you have only one banyan every day. You have to wash your banyan and wear it. It was so tough stuff. Many times, tool people do not get sufficient time, so they have to only put the tag dies ready for production. It is not the right way. They give the die this morning, and they want the die back next day morning. Other uses. Dies are not done in Japan in large batch production. They only JIT, just in time. They produce about 10, 20 casting extra, not more than that. Frequently, they withdraw the die and then do only the routine maintenance, just like taking bath every day. This is like not wearing a shirt for 5 to 6 days, but wash it in the first or second day with a less dirt and less effort. Otherwise, we have a problem with our housewives. Owing to the above practice, the die condition will not deteriorate fast. Only natural wear will take place due to aging only. CBM. The condition is assessed probably after 40,000 castings, and they do only very routine work. Every day has got a separate checklist, and they literally follow it. I'm coming to another area which is different. This is the organization setup in tool service. Really excellent. There is no toolbox issued to anybody. No toolmaker has got one toolbox. Here, everybody is having a toolbox. You are having about 10, 20 toolboxes, and they are trying to keep the tools and lock it and go. It's different. All the hand tools are kept in a common place and open wooden boards nailed on the walls like our mechanic shed. You can know which part is missing, which tool is missing, just have to look at it. It was amazing and excellent tools. Anybody can use it and put it back again. No time is wasted in searching for tools. In many of our companies, you have seen people are searching for 4 months, 6 Allen keys, which are very small. And I is waiting for the Allen key in so many. Fasteners and nuts and bolts, washers, or any other small items are kept in the open rack. Open means it will not disappear. Anybody can take anything they want it and record it, handwritten. Sometimes they used to even write on pencil, notebooks. Every day somebody will come and take the list, and then he will arrange the quantities for replenishment. All that is taking place. Then this is a very important area which is not there in India, my knowledge. A team is formed which consists of 2 or 3 or tool servicemen or tool makers. They are allotted by the management a set of days, say 10 or 15 days. They are responsible for the non-stopping running of the days. Top management will not care anything. They see that the days are run and maintained these days very well. They plan for all the spares, order by themselves directly. They are given authority for replacing that one of dies also. So such a power is given with a lot of confidence. Online maintenance, this is not there in India as far as I know. In every shift, one of the day makers is going around the shop floor. He just was casually and take a shot from the machine or check the casting by himself, noted down, and where the things are going wrong, any flashes, any breakages, all the time. He keeps silence. He will not talk to anybody. He will come and then take the casting and note it down and go. When it is necessary, he gives a standby die. He himself will ask, "Arey, can I have this die back and give you this die?" And the die setups are done by 2 or 3 people. Another 15 minutes, the die will be run again. They will call it as online support service. This is not so you don't have to call somebody and or a phone call or set somebody and then call a tool service man. See, that is not running support. So there is a live line support which makes the utilization very well. There is no need to send requests or phone calls, unlike in India. This is very important, man. This can tell the truth on quality people. I am going to present a case study. After this, you are going to be surprised. And toolmaker has got a connected, working along with the shop supervisor and quality persons. And unlike in India, these low pressure dies and initial dies, the die coating is done in tool room by a set of different people. They are not tool makers, but they are expert in coating. The die coating method is quite different. The coating will last for 1 week, I've seen myself. Here you prepare every shift. You're losing so much time. Their way of coating is different. They got a oven is there, they heat the die. They will not heat more than 150 to 200 degrees centigrade. They will not. not more than that, not any more. If you coat beyond that one, the die coat will not stick, it will peel off. After coating the rest of, again 1 hour, the die coat parts will be kept in a furnace for 400 degrees and then fully cure it. These coatings are so strong, it will not peel off. Such is the way they work on it. And nobody will stop the die on the shop floor and then coat it, keeping the furnace with the metal, waiting. See, you are losing 2 hours, 3 hours of production. You have to hold a 500 kg furnace at the rate of about 32 kilowatt per hour. You are spending money to keep the coffee, the metal, by spending about 72 watts. See the money how we are wasting on it. Most of the die casting production was fully automated in many foundries, and carousels consisting of 4 or 6 is quite common in Japan. And the breakdowns were attended immediately. Even the set of 3 or 4 or 5 members will come and see that the die is attended very well, or replace it with the already serviced die which is readily available. If the time is going to correction, it will be about to more than 1 hour. Don't wait for correct it. This is the two-room setup. It is really good, that one. The die will come here and the die opening is there. Welding and arc welding is there in a setup. Here is an arc welding, here is welding, here is one normal work. So many things will be there. And here you are having the tools ready. So people can pick up the tools there and open the die and move it for this one. All the hair so neatly done. Then you will be having a small surface grinder and lathe and all here. And there is one place, this is the rubber mat and this is a crane. And you can do this die opening and closing, all that one. And the service dies will be here. And if you want it, you'll take that. But the tool room will be very, very clean and very neat also. And the tool display is a rich feast for the sharp eyes of the any tool maker. Perhaps this may be his dream, I would say. It was amazing experience for me to be with the tool room for a very long time. Now, training for new tool servicemen and health. Actually, the news, anybody who is coming to tool room has got to work as a die caster at least for 3 months in the polish shop floor, so that he will know about the die working very carefully, not straight away admitted into the tool room. All tool makers, old tool makers and tool salespersons should undergo a mandatory eye checkup, and also they have got to qualify themselves to work in the coming years. It's very important. All the tool makers and tool salespersons should undergo a kind of a psychiatric test for mental fitness. And I don't know the details, but they were telling me we have got to undergo this test whether we are mentally fit to work here. Such things going on in Japan. Are you able to see? Yeah, that's okay. Are you able to see that? Hello? Now, yeah, it's okay. Sorry. Are you able to see me? Yeah. The casting, yeah. Shall I go ahead? Okay. The casting name is aluminum. Hello? Okay. It's a GDC die, of course. The diameter is EN8 steel per course and cast iron for die halves. And the quality level is very, very critical. Let us see what happens. You find a lot of air leakages in this area of the casting, and this is formed by this. This is the problem faced. Now you see, this is the kind of a top running system. Is the kernel flow. This is the depressing area. This is the gooseneck, and coming to that one. This is the full shot of the casting, and the metal is poured from top. It comes and falls, and here this portion is getting overheated. This portion, and you get a shrinkage is there. In the shrinkage, you get a lot of problems. No feeding also coming from there because this neck is very small. So also all the metal comes here and falls here, falls on this big core. Now the problem is, one of the causes for the shrinkage was overheating. There are so many causes, maybe lack of feeding, this and that. One of the causes we noticed is this goes up beyond 400 degrees centigrade, this one. So what we plan is going to go for some copper chills and cool the chills by air jet. It's a hollow core made of cast iron. All that. We try to cool the air, and then we found the shrinkage is solved. But it has got so many side effects. Due to the discharge of air, the shop is getting noisy. Nobody likes it. The whole shop is fully noisy. And also, the compressor getting overloaded, and the maintenance people ask us to give one more compressor. But the problem is solved, but you can't afford to buy a compressor of about 10 lakhs worth of it. For workers also, they feel uncomfortable. So we have to find a different solution, how to solve out. A brainstorming session was carried out. One of the tool makers said the solid core will conduct much better than the air-cooled. Well, of course, air is a bad conductor. Why don't you try that? The session was forwarded to the die design department. They accepted, which had made a new solid core out of cast iron. This is the hollow core. This is the solid core. So it's a new one. We tried this core and found no shrinkage at all, because the heat conduction was very fine, no air, no sound. And this was an excellent idea from a tool maker. It goes from bottom to top. And his idea was well taken by the die design people. And this, the same die, we got another major problem. The die was not running smoothly. In that 150 dia big core and 170 dia tall, is getting jammed. It is not getting dropped easily due to the aluminum metal entry into the core gate. Breakdowns were many. Once in a day, everything will be stopped. Serving is also very difficult, such a big core in hard condition, how to get it down and put it back. Then we try to make the clearance only 0.2 per side. But the core jammed due to the thermal expansion of the core shack. Again, the problem. There was no metal entry, but it jams for a different reason. First, it was jamming by metal entry. The second is lack of clearance. So, total different. Then, if the clearance is kept to 0.4, within about a day, metal enters. So, how to solve the problem? See, this is the one I want to show it to you. This one, metal enters here and comes straight, go down into the one when the gap is 0.4, and the core jams in a day. Again, we had then see this one, this I will show you. When the metal comes from there, it goes and the core gate is just right below the metal end. So this 175 plus 50, 225 mm metal is coming down. It gains a velocity of more than about say 2 meters per second. That's just the velocity. It goes and then jams the course. Everybody was thinking what to do. Then we had a brainstorming, and one toolmaker suggested that the speed of the descending metal must be reduced when it reaches the bottom of the core. How to achieve this? He said, wouldn't to make the core shank from 150 mm to a big 180 mm. By this means, the metal will come down faster and hit and take a 90-degree turn. It seems to be quite different, but quite workable. So we made the core bigger. See, this core is made very big, 180 mm. This is 150 mm. See, here the metal goes straight into the bore, 0.4. Here, even though the core is 0.4 clearance, the metal will come here and then deflect it. So there was no metal at all. And the idea was again forward to the die design department, the scrutiny. They also accepted, and a new core was made with a bigger shank, 180 mm diameter. Again, the gate bore was made in 0.4 only, not 0.2. There was no core jamming at all, and it went very well. And we have put, because when the core shank is 180 mm, the casting goes with the core. So to prevent that one, we have put 4 pads on both stages of the patch. Everything was smooth. Even the die run for 1 week, nothing happens. It runs very smoothly, no noisy. And this contribution again is going from an example how the improvements are going from the bottom to top. This came from a tool maker, and it went very well. This is an excellent it's a contribution to the die maintenance people. This is another case study, flutter effect. Flutter effect is a very rare defect and less known to many of the people, because a lot of similarities there with the flutter effect holes and the gas holes. Both are circular only, but the gas holes are different. Air blow hole also similar to that one. The difference between the air blow hole and the flutter hole is only one area. Air blow hole at the bottom will be having some grayish surface due to oxidation. But flutter effect holes are very clean, neat, shiny surfaces. That only can make it. Many people won't be able to differentiate between a flutter effect hole and a gas hole. So this is what given input, very important. There is one casting. This is a very critical casting. In this bore only, we are getting at this point a kind of a shiny flutter hole. Thinking this is due to air blow holes. Now, sir, the control system in place. How do you get air blow hole? The hole is very neat, so it is due to flutter effect. Flutter effect comes only when there is no die coat on the core, or when the core is very, very smooth, and if you spray this black die coat, you get a hole. Even we can create a flutter and show it to people during the classes. And sometimes when there is no die coat, you are having aluminum welded on the core. And this aluminum will not allow the die coat material to stick on it. So in our context now, we dismantled the core, which is causing problems, 100 mm core from the running die, and checked. We had a terrible scene. See the metal, as aluminum has already soldered like this one, and this is not allowing the coating to go there. Okay, how it happens? Actually, any GDC die, you will have to coat the cores very well, once in about half an hour to 1 hour, and you will be able to get a good core. If you don't touch up the core, the coating wears off and slowly, and finally you will end up with aluminum building on it. Either you spray correct die coating or replace that big core. Probably during the lunch intervals, you want to dismantle that core and then put this one. And then I told them, let us go and see what is the problem is. The operators were seriously running the die on hours together and the producing castings, and we found in the bore lot of score marks. Then we suspect there will be something wrong in the core. Dismantle the core assembly. And to my observation, no, they took about 45 minutes after dismantling about 16 boats. And the core design is such, it is fitted with the diagrams. This is the core. This is the core. And when the operator's place one, it once you fall on this one, it will not touch here at all. And all the fret of it comes only the bottom surface. See the condition. Just because we are not able to remove the core, operator just place it only on the top of it, and the bottom has got no coating. Oh, this is the culprit. Then we said, why don't we make the core removable? Then we made one idea. Again, we had brainstorming session, and one of them said, you must make the core easily removable. So we made a new core with a tongue system. So the core can be, by removing the tongue system, just like that, we can remove the core up and then change with a new core. It's a very simple idea. There is no more bolting here and there. It's more by a aero cylinder. Independent of that one, we make a core and then put this one and remove it. We found it took hardly about 5 minutes to change the core. Just remove the one and then replace with a newly die-coated and warmed cores. During lunch hours or during anything, during the tea times, we change it. There is no more flutter effect. All the cases were extremely very good and nothing happened. This is one more example of the feedback to the die design from the bottom to top, from a tool maker. See how it goes. This is another one. This is a pathetic real-time story on weight monitoring. This is a casting. It's a casting which weighs about 7.85 kilograms. Out of LM25 alloy is a gravity one. Monthly sales volume is 70,000. It's one particular casting alone. It's only one casting being produced by the foundry. They have 3 dies. This is the die construction. You see, this is one slide. This is another slide. There are 4 slides coming up because of the parting one. You have to move this cover, and this one out and take out that code. This is only a kind of schematic diagram. You will see. The profile is so odd, we allow to go only this way. And there were 3 dies in the setup. 1, 2, 3 dies. This is a holding furnace, 500 kilogram capacity. Take metal and pour, take metal and pour. I was walking on this foundry shop. I went for some other problem. Then they asked me to have a look at it. I find lots of flashes on all these castings like this. There are 4 parting lines, no? 1, 2, 3, 4 parting lines. I could see plenty of flashes. For this problem, I was not called. I was called only to some other problem, and I could notice there is a problem in this one. Then I asked the owner to weigh about 10 numbers from each die and pick up this casting at random from the pallets, waiting for dispatch. And then he asked the quality person to weigh them and make a tabulation. You see this one, this is the first die, the second die, and third die. This is the common 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. The quoted weight is 7.85 kg accepted by customer. That's it. Each casting weigh, 8.1, 7.9, 8.2, 8.81, and it averaging out 8.0597, 8.11, and all that. Finally, put it, average weighting this was 246 grams. That is 0.24 kg up. It's a quarter kilo. It goes up. And if you calculate the weight of the total dispatches for these 70,000 numbers, you will be dispatching 549 tons only exactly. But you are 17 tons up. In front of your very eyes, you are sending fat castings. The owner was highly upset. I told him, your foundry was losing about 17.2 tons of castings. You are spending more weight castings than what you are. Normally, 1% variation is acceptable in any of the castings. Japanese are still 0.5. They are working on that one. 78 grams per casting is okay for you. If it is plus minus 78, okay. But you are up by how many? 246 gram, quarter kilo, you are exceeding it. And you are literally losing 3 months because the day cost about 15 lakhs. He was totally, that's why he was telling, I am not able to reconcile my stocks at all. Every time I run into shortages. This is a very big one because this happened because they had only 3 days for the 3-1. And there is no time for servicing at all. He is running all the 24 hours, all that one. Since he is not having the 4th day to replace dice this work, he is running all the days in a month, and then we get to a big loss. So my recommendation is immediately stop this day for a week, or you have to go for a 4th day. He has ordered immediately on 4th day, and in about 2-3 weeks, he gradually repair the parting line and see that the die course is made and blue matching is done. Everything he was able to save that 15 lakhs per month in about. But now things are okay and the problem solved, but he paid a big price for it. Because of the tool maintenance because he is not having his own tool room, he send the dice outside and get it repaired. This was die service and life and customers. When do you want to play garland to your die? Very important thing. The gravity die, if it is well maintained, you can go without any weight increase, 80,000 to 1 lakh. Even I have seen dice running after 1,50,000 dice. You leave and low pressure dice normally 60,000 to 80,000 shots if it is well maintained. Some customers replace the dice. I was supplying some castings to Myco. They fix the die at 1 lakh for a zinc die casting. Even if the die is good condition, Myco will not take even one casting after 1 lakh. They give a die cast about the die is running about 60,000. You make a new die and supply it. So some customers are well defined and we have no problem in that one. Some customers do not pay the die cost. Say it's your property, you supply, and they pay 5% more than the normal cost. So it's the property of the supplier, not the customer. That way it's going. In that case, this man will try to maintain the die. The supplier will try to maintain the die in a good condition because die is his property. And some customers pay for the die and demand more numbers of good casting supply from a withered die, from worn out die. And the cost of die maintenance goes up. So it is always a kind of dialogue between us and see when to replace a die. Yeah, word about die failures. Die failures and the forensic engineering are very much thing which is in abroad and also in USA. If the die cracks and fails within about 500 to 1,000 shots, it is due to manufacturing defect. There's no doubt about it. If a die fails at 30,000 to 40,000, it is due to abusing, to mishandling of the and poor maintenance. And if the die fails at 80,000 to 1 lakh, due to aging. So don't try to put more effort and try to run the die which are overweight. So the casting weight matters. There is one science called forensic engineering experts and firms are available in some countries. If a die fails at 500 shots, so there are some disputes there. In USA, they file cases and they want to know whether it is really due to die mistakes or all that one. It is applied to many things, not only dice, castings or any product. If it fails earlier, they will go to court. So there is a separate branch is there. Okay, this is a different thing. And a lot of people are there, and the courts and judges will accept the report of the forensic engineers. It's happening. Oh, India is not there. If it fails, it's your funeral. It's finished. When to scrap the die? Normally, the dice are scrapped when it is not operable or when the product becomes obsolete or when the dimensions are so critical, not possible to maintain. In some castings, it happens also. Mutual negotiation between customer and supplier is the final thing. They decide when to scrap the die. Sometimes they compromise. In PVC, I have seen many castings. No, there's a very expensive 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs. They say you file these heat check marks, we will accept it. But they don't pay the extra cost. They require an extra filing and polishing. People will file. They make only 5-6 castings in a year. Big castings. Anyway, last but not the least, like the concept of zero defect, zero maintenance concepts are there progressing in another direction in Japan. See the die is no maintenance at all. That is difficult. In some big foundries abroad in India, fully automated production cells are there. So no die breakdown is acceptable in a casual way. So tool maintenance plays a very, very vital role. Okay, what will happen in the future? Metal printing of common shapes in the infant stages now. Once it takes off, dies and molds will drop out of the scene. No more dies. So no more maintenance and melting equipments. No more Zoom meetings and die maintenance. Of course, components will come out like Xerox copies. Of course, the day is very, very far off. Once Abdul Kalam said, past is a waste paper and present is an answer paper and the future is a question paper. If not understood, it will become a toilet paper. That's what he was telling. We must understand the meaning of it. If we don't update ourselves, we will drop out. We have to run fast to stay where we are. And thanks to everybody. Namaste.
So, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Muthaiah, for that very detailed presentation. We'll have a short Q&A session. So if anybody has got a question, may I request you to just briefly unmute yourself one by one and ask the question. Please go ahead. Okay, seems.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, night reading process is required for LPDC dies.
No, not at all. Not required.
Not required. Only PDC die.
Yeah, only for PDC.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I hear you, sir.
Dr. Sarkar from COEP.
Yes.
What is the best die material which will give maximum life and minimum defects in the castings?
Actually, die life alone, if you take it, you can go for H13 or H11, but no heat treatment is required. But very expensive, 4 or 5 times metal cast is about 900 kg per kg of H13, H11, but you don't have to heat it. It will give very long life.
Yeah, it can be heat
But
treated.
die defect is quite a different phenomenon.
Yeah, for both these H11 and
Caching
H13.
material, I say.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, I hear you, sir. Very well.
In both these H11 and H13, there are 2 heat treatments involved. One is ferrodized annealing, another is hardening and tempering. So one has to put a lot of focus on both these heat treatments so that the life will be more, because the microstructure will depend upon these heat treatments.
Yeah.
We decide the life.
Yeah, that's important. Actually, H11 is used for big die, large dies, and H13 for, of course, the subject is different today, but anyway, I have to answer it. H13 is for smaller and medium type PDC dies. But the question is, if the die cavity hardness goes up, somebody is better if you heat it the PDC dies 42. Sufficient 42, 44, not more than that. If sometimes it goes beyond that one, it may crack.
And another steel,
So,
that DIN
yeah.
1.2714, that is frequently used
Yeah.
aluminum extrusion. So
Yeah.
can that be used here?
No, no, no. It is not having that much life. Actually, in die casting dies, the thing is the die has got to be strong enough in hot condition. That's very, very important. Here the die condition or die temperature will be around 250, 200, and the metal temperature will be around 660, 640, and the pressure will be more than 1000, 2500 kgs. So the application is different. So normally the hot working steels are much better. ROR Supreme or 13 H11 is fine.
Yeah.
So many steels are there now. Hitachi steels are also good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. This is Udit from Minda Corporation Limited.
Yes.
I have two questions. One is,
Yeah,
how should we measure the temperature? What is the correct method for measuring the temperature in regular running of the die? What is the best
actually,
method to measure?
it is impossible to. I am following some things. It is impossible to measure the die cavity temperature inside unless you put a thermocouple. It is difficult. But what I do is, I fix a place at the back side of the die, and we are having dial type magnetic thermometers. It's a very cheap one, hardly $10, $20. They are there. I stick them at one particular place at the back of the die, and see, and it never it stays back. The life is also very long. Then you can measure the temperature only at the back side of the die hop by sticking these dial type thermometers. That is there.
Sir, we do put this die this temperature sensor in the design itself from 15 to 20 mm away from the casting, but it is inside the die. And sometimes customer asks that what is the temperature on the surface? How do you measure it? Sometimes customer asks us, and how do we control it? Because the casting is being made by the surface only.
No. Actually, die temperature is not the only phenomenon, only parameter to control the quality. It is one parameter, that's all. So by knowing the die temperature, the customer is not going to do anything with that. As long as he gets good casting, it's fine. But normally, die temperature is very, very, very 250 to even 400 degrees are there. Die temperature is a function of aluminum alloys. So I'll tell you one thing, dies with more silicon needs a very lower die temperature. The flowability is so good, you have to keep the temperature to 600, 600. For example, it is always better to go for 660 degrees centigrade and below. Even 635 is okay for LMs with 10 to 13% silicon. But if you have a long freezing danger alloy like LM4, 100 degrees centigrade, 4 to 6% silicon. At that time only you need to have a die temperature. So die temperature you can't control in gravity. The die maintains itself by rhythm.
Okay. Sir, one more thing. Yeah, one more thing, sir.
Yeah.
You told that after every 10,000 shots, we should do welding on the parting line. For reducing the fettling work. So what kind of welding should be used should we use in GDC? Whether it is in the case of parting line or it is in the case of something
there is
like
a material. That's right. Yes, there are people are doing it. That material is not there in India. Sometimes you used to get it outside. That's called Inconel material. Hello. Hello. Yes, I hear you.
Sandeep Khote from Akar Foundry.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, which process is useful in GDC to die coat removing? Bead blast or ice blast?
Don't use ice blasting. I will tell my own self. It is not removing the oxide layers. Also, it's expensive. The best one is mild sandblasting for GDC. And the best one is glass bead salt blasting,
Glass.
but very expensive.
Okay. This ice blast is now using almost running boundaries in India.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is useful in LPDC also?
No, actually, we bought one machine and tried. I don't know name of company, but we failed it. We could not remove it. High speed doesn't remove the acid layers. Then again, we got to do a mild sandblasting.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So if there are no more questions, I need to thank Mr. Muthaiah for making this presentation. Let me inform you that Mr. Muthaiah is a consultant in his own right. He's a member of Alucast, and he has, we are very grateful to him because he has put this presentation together absolutely gratis for the benefit of the members. If any of you wish to consult him on anything, right, you can get in touch with the Alucast secretariat, and we'll be happy to put you in touch with Mr. Muthaiah. So, Thiru, good to see you, and thank you very much for your very detailed presentation. There are some more such events going to take place over the next few weeks, and I hope at some later stage in the very near future we can have you again come and talk and present to the members. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm happy to present, to share my knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you, Thiru. Thank you.
Thank you.
तो वोट माने की मना कर रहे हैं 5 दिन तक ये उनके 5 दिन